They say the most painful part of betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It always comes from the ones you loved the most, the ones you would give your life for. On my wedding day, dressed in a flowing white gown that clung to my skin like a second layer of hope, I learned that truth in the cruelest way possible, feeling it slice through my chest with every heartbeat. The morning had been a blur of laughter, echoing off the hotel walls, makeup brushes dancing across my cheeks in soft, rhythmic strokes, and camera flashes popping like distant fireworks, capturing moments I thought would last forever. Guests were already seated in the church down the street, their murmurs blending with the rustle of programs and the faint scent of fresh flowers arranged in towering vases along the pews. The choir rehearsed soft hymns, their voices rising and falling like gentle waves, filling the air with a serenity that now felt mocking. My heart raced with anticipation, pounding against my ribs as if trying to escape the confines of my lace bodice. Today I was supposed to become Mrs. Rachel Hayes, wife to Derek, the man I believed was my soulmate, the one whose smile had pulled me from the depth of loneliness years ago. But fate had something darker waiting for me. Lurking in the shadows of what should have been my happiest day, twisting the joy into a nightmare I couldn't yet see. I excused myself quietly from the bridal suite, where the air was thick with the aroma of hairspray and perfume, telling Chloe, my bridesmaid and best friend since childhood, the girl who had shared my secrets under starry skies and held me through endless heartbreaks, that I needed a moment alone before walking down the aisle. She smiled warmly, her eyes sparkling with what I mistook for genuine affection, and squeezed my hand, her fingers warm and reassuring against my clammy palm, whispering, "You've got this, Rach. He's waiting for you." Her words wrapped around me like a comforting embrace, easing the butterflies fluttering wildly in my stomach. I believed her. I trusted her, with the kind of blind faith forged from years of late-night confessions and shared dreams. I should never have, for that trust was the very foundation they had built their deceit upon, crumbling now beneath my feet. As I walked through the corridor of the hotel, where Derek and his groomsmen were staying, the carpet muffling my footsteps like a conspiratorial hush, I heard a familiar laugh behind his sweet door, light and carefree, the same one that had drawn me to him on our first date. At first, I thought maybe the boys were teasing him, trying to calm his nerves with jokes and backslaps, their voices muffled through the thick wood. But then I froze, my hand hovering mid-air as I reached for the doorknob, a chill racing up my spine. Derek's voice was lower, hushed, laced with something sinister, a tone I'd never heard from him before, like a shadow creeping over the sun. "The pills are working perfectly. She doesn't suspect a thing. After the vows, she only has about 4 hours before her body gives out. By then, everything she owns is ours." The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs and making my vision swim. My knees buckled beneath me, weak and trembling as if the ground had turned to quicksand. My back pressed against the wall, as if it could hold me upright, the cool plaster seeping through my gown, grounding me in the horror unfolding. My mind reeled, fragments of memories flashing. Derek handing me those vitamins each morning with a kiss? His eyes so tender, now revealed as a mask. Then Chloe's voice. The voice of my best friend. The one I trusted with every secret, the one who knew my fears and dreams better than anyone, came through the phone speaker, tinny but unmistakable, shattering the last remnants of my world. "I told you it would work, baby. Just keep her drinking them. She's too depressed to notice. By tonight, Rachel will be gone. and we'll finally live the life we deserve." Her words wrapped around my throat like invisible hands, squeezing tighter with each syllable. I clamped my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming, my nails digging into my skin as hot tears welled up. My lungs burned with the effort to stay silent, each breath a ragged gasp that threatened to betray me. Tears blurred my vision, turning the hallway lights into hazy stars as disbelief warred with the dawning agony in my chest. Derek chuckled softly, the way he used to when we lay tangled in each other's arms under soft sheets, his breath warm against my neck. Only this time, it wasn't love in his voice, it was greed, cold and calculating, echoing in my ears like a death knell. "Tonight, everything is ours, Chloe. Her money, her house, everything." The casual cruelty of it sent a shiver through me, my body trembling uncontrollably against the wall. I stumbled back from the door, heart hammering so fiercely it felt like it might burst from my ribcage, each beat a thunderous accusation. My chest tightened, a vice of panic closing in, and suddenly I couldn't breathe properly, the air thick and unyielding. A cold wave of nausea hit me, twisting my stomach into knots, and I realized the pills they mentioned, the vitamins Derek had been handing me for weeks, insisting they were for my health, were poison, slowly eroding me from the inside. My lips trembled as I fought for control, the taste of bile rising in my throat. The corridor blurred around me, walls closing in like a trap. My vision dimmed at the edges, spots dancing before my eyes. By the time I reached the elevator, my legs gave way beneath me, folding like paper. I collapsed on the floor, gasping for air that wouldn't come, my gown pooling around me like spilled milk. Voices screamed from down the hall, frantic and distant, piercing the fog in my mind. Someone shouted for help, their footsteps pounding closer. My parents rushed toward me, my mother's face a mask of terror, her hands outstretched. Then, darkness swallowed me whole, pulling me under with merciless force. I woke up to the sharp scent of antiseptic that stung my nostrils, my body lying still on a hospital bed, sheets crisp and unforgiving against my skin. Machines beeped faintly around me, a steady rhythm that mocked the chaos in my soul. My mother's tear-streaked face hovered above mine, her eyes red and swollen, lines of worry etched deeper than I'd ever seen. "Rachel, baby, stay with me," she pleaded, her voice breaking on the words, her hand clutching mine with desperate strength. Then I heard the doctor's voice, steady, calm but urgent, cutting through the haze like a lifeline. "She's been poisoned for weeks. The dosage was designed to peak on her wedding day. If we don't act now, she won't make it through the night." Tears slid from the corners of my eyes, hot trails down my temples as the reality sank in. My throat burned with silent screams, raw and aching from the effort to hold back. Derek, Chloe, the people I loved most had planned my death like it was a business deal, calculating every dose, every lie. "Doctor," I croaked, my voice barely a whisper, scraping against my dry throat. "Is there a way to let them think I'm gone? I need to know the truth. I need to hear what everyone really feels." The doctor hesitated, his brow furrowing in concern, his stethoscope dangling like a pendulum. His eyes narrowed, weighing the risks in that heavy pause. "There is, but it's dangerous," he admitted, his tone laced with caution, glancing at the monitors as if they held the answers. "I don't care," I whispered, determination stealing my voice despite the weakness flooding my limbs. "Please, help me." He exchanged a glance with the nurse, her face pale under the fluorescent lights, then rolled a tray closer to my bed, the wheels squeaking softly on the linoleum. On it lay a small vial of pale blue liquid that shimmered faintly, a syringe glinting coldly, and surgical gloves folded neatly. "This," he said carefully, holding up the vial between his fingers, the light catching its edges, "is a sedative, mixed with a compound that slows your heart rate and lowers your skin temperature. To anyone else, you'll look gone, pale, cold, lifeless. But your consciousness will remain. You'll hear everything." My chest rose and fell unevenly, each breath a labored effort, fear gripping me like icy fingers around my heart. But rage burned hotter, fueling my resolve. "Do it." The doctor drew the liquid into the syringe with precise movements, flicked it to release air bubbles, then tied a band around my arm to reveal the vein, the rubber snapping against my skin. My heart thundered in my ears, a frantic drumbeat counting down. "Deep breath," he murmured, his voice soothing yet firm. The needle slid in, a sharp sting that made me wince, followed by a spreading chill that coursed through my veins like winter's first frost. I felt the cool liquid race through my bloodstream, like ice replacing fire, numbing my extremities first, then creeping inward. My pulse slowed, each beat dragging longer than the last. My breaths grew shallow, ragged, barely filling my lungs. My skin tingled, then numbed, as though I was floating outside my body, detached and weightless. "Stay calm," the doctor instructed, monitoring the machine beside me with focused intensity. The beeping slowed, slower, slower, until it was a faint, haunting echo, barely audible in the sterile room. I tried to move my lips, but nothing happened, the muscles frozen in place. My fingers twitched once, a feeble spasm, then stilled completely. My eyelids fluttered closed, heavy as stone slabs, sealing me in darkness, and then silence enveloped me, profound and absolute. Only I wasn't gone. I was trapped inside myself, listening to the world continue without me, every sound amplified in my prison. The doctor exhaled softly, his breath a sigh of relief mixed with tension. "She's ready, call the family." A tear slid down my cheek, though no one saw it, warm against the growing cold. I wasn't Rachel the bride anymore, with dreams of forever. I was Rachel the ghost, a living witness to my own death, suspended in limbo. And soon, I would discover just how deep the betrayal went. Each revelation a deeper wound in my already shattered heart. I lay in the coffin, skin pale as moonlight filtering through stained glass, body cold to the touch like marble in winter, chest still and unmoving under the folded silk lining. To them, I was gone. A lifeless shell in a polished wooden box adorned with lilies that filled the air with their cloying sweetness. To me, I was wide awake in the prison of my own body, every sense heightened, trapped in a void where I could hear but not respond. The condolence room filled, one by one, the door creaking open with each arrival, footsteps echoing on the hardwood floor like approaching judgments. But the first to enter were Derek and Chloe hand in hand, their fingers intertwined in a mockery of affection, dressed in black suits and dresses that whispered against their skin, yet smirking like victorious thieves who had just claimed their prize, their eyes gleaming with unspoken triumph. Chloe leaned over my coffin, her perfume sweet but sickening, wafting over me in waves that turned my stomach even in my stillness, her breath warm against my face as she hovered too close. Her voice dripped venom, low and intimate, as if sharing a secret with the dead. Sorry, Rach, you had to go for us to be happy. But don't worry, your money won't be wasted. I'll wear your diamonds better than you ever did." The words slithered into my ears, igniting a firestorm of fury that raged silently within me, my mind screaming denials that never escaped. Derek chuckled, pressing a kiss to Chloe's temple, with a tenderness that once belonged to me. His lips lingering as if savoring the moment, his arm pulling her closer in possessive delight. She really thought I loved her. Poor Rachel, always so desperate to be saved, she never realized she was just the stepping stone to everything we wanted. Their laughter echoed through the chamber, bouncing off the walls lined with somber portraits and velvet curtains, a sound that grated against my soul like nails on chalkboard. Inside, I burned with a hatred so intense it felt like it might shatter the injection's hold. My thoughts a whirlwind of betrayal and vengeance. I wanted to leap out, to claw at them with nails sharpened by rage, to scream their names like curses that would haunt them forever. But the doctor's injection held me still, my body a traitor to my will, unresponsive and cold. More footsteps entered, heavier and hurried, bringing with them the scent of cologne and fresh rain from outside. My siblings, their presence announced by the shuffle of shoes and muffled sighs. I prayed for comfort, for grief that would soothe the wounds already festering, for tears that might wash away the poison of doubt. But instead, I heard knives disguised as words, sharp and slicing, delivered in whispers meant only for each other. "Somehow," my brother muttered, his voice rough with suppressed glee, leaning against the wall with arms crossed. "Rachel's gone. She always had to be the perfect one, didn't she? The favorite. Let's see how perfect she looks rotting underground." The casual disdain hit me like a slap, my inner self recoiling as memories of childhood games and shared holidays twisted into something ugly. My sister snickered, a high-pitched sound that pierced the air, her hand covering her mouth as if to hide the smile curling her lips. "She thought she was better than us. Now we get our share." About time. Each word cut deeper than the poison ever could, carving into my heart with precision, exposing layers of resentment I had never suspected, leaving me raw and exposed in my silent torment. Then came my stepmother, clinging to my father's arm with fingers digging into his sleeve, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. She sighed, pretending sorrow, with a dramatic hitch in her breath, but her voice betrayed her, laced with a satisfaction that seeped through like oil. "She was always in the way, always reminding your father of his first wife. Now we can finally move on." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication, as my father stood silent beside her, his shoulders slumped under the weight of unspoken regrets. Rage threatened to burst from my chest, a pressure building like steam in a sealed pot, my mind flooding with images of family dinners where her smiles had hidden barbs. How could my own blood celebrate my death, revel in it like a long-awaited victory, their bonds revealed as fragile illusions? And then, just as the darkness felt unbearable, pressing down on me like the lid of the coffin itself, a new voice entered, soft and trembling, cutting through the venom like a beam of light in the gloom. The voice cracked with grief, raw and unfiltered, echoing in the hushed room like a solitary cry in the night. "Rachel, my sweet girl." It was my mother, the woman I hadn't seen in years, her scent of lavender soap wafting faintly as she approached. She collapsed beside my coffin, her knees hitting the floor with a thud, tears falling on my still hands, warm droplets that seeped through the numbness, stirring an ache in my frozen form. "I'm so sorry. Your father pushed me away when he remarried. I let him. I should have fought harder to be in your life. Please forgive me." Her words broke me open, cracking the shell of my composure, flooding me with a mix of sorrow and longing that twisted in my gut. Unlike the others, her sorrow was real, palpable in the way her body shook with sobs, her hands trembling as they clutched the coffin's edge. Her love, raw and unpolished, poured out in waves, a balm against the earlier stings, reminding me of bedtime stories and gentle hugs from a time before everything fractured. Then came Ethan, our driver, his footsteps hesitant and heavy, the familiar jingle of his keys in his pocket, a sound I'd heard 1,000 times on quiet rides. His sobs filled the silence as he fell to his knees beside the coffin, his broad shoulders heaving, his face buried in his hands, before he looked up at me, with eyes brimming with unshed pain. "Rachel, I loved you. I loved you more than my own life, but I was just the driver. You were too far above me. I never had the courage to tell you. If only you could come back. I'd love you right. I'd protect you." The confession pierced me deepest of all, awakening feelings I'd buried under duty and expectation, my heart screaming inside my chest with a silent echo. I loved you too, from the stolen glances in the rearview mirror to the quiet conversations during long drives. But no words escaped my lips, trapped in the void of my induced death, leaving me to ache in isolation. Behind the scenes, the doctor's plan unfolded with meticulous precision, his earlier instructions replaying in my mind like a lifeline. Hidden in the condolence room was a small camera tucked behind a floral arrangement, its lens capturing every gesture, and a memory card nestled in a discreet recorder, preserving the audio in crystal clarity. Every word, every betrayal, was being recorded, etched into digital evidence that would seal their fates, a net closing slowly around them. What Derek and Chloe didn't know was that their secret outings, hotel visits with stolen glances and whispered promises, and stolen weekends filled with laughter that mocked my trust, had also been documented by private eyes I'd secretly hired months ago, when I first felt cracks in Derek's love. Subtle shifts in his touch and excuses that rang hollow. Now, all the evidence would come together, weaving a tapestry of deceit that no lie could unravel. My foresight, a quiet revenge brewing in the background. The lawyer entered, his briefcase thumping against his leg, holding a sealed envelope that crinkled faintly in his grasp. His voice was heavy, resonating with authority as he cleared his throat, drawing the room's attention amid the lingering whispers. Rachel's final request was that her will be read before burial, and that a recording be played. The room stirred with unease, chairs creaking as bodies shifted, faces paling under the dim lights, a tension thickening the air like fog rolling in. On the screen mounted on the wall, Derek and Chloe's smiling faces flickered into view, caught in hotel rooms with rumpled sheets and champagne glasses, beachside kisses under golden sunsets, late-night whispers in dimly lit bars. Each frame was a dagger, stabbing at the illusions they'd built, exposing the raw underbelly of their affair with unflinching detail. My siblings' mocking voices followed in audio clips, sneering tones replayed with crystal clarity. The stepmother's cruel sighs captured in moments of unguarded honesty. Every betrayal laid bare for all to see, the room filling with gasps and shifting feet. Derek's face flushed red with panic, veins bulging at his temples as sweat beaded on his forehead. He shot to his feet, chair scraping harshly against the floor. "Turn this off! It's a lie fabricated!" His voice cracked with desperation, hands clenching into fists at his sides. Chloe clutched his arm, her nails digging in, her face twisting in fear, her voice shrill and piercing. "This is edited. She was depressed. None of this is real. Her protests rang hollow, echoing off the walls as eyes turned toward them in judgment. The lawyer slammed his hand against the desk, the sound reverberating like a gavel, his expression stern and unyielding. Sit down. This is her voice, her evidence, and you will hear all of it. Then, my pre-recorded message began, the video switching to a quiet room where I sat composed, my image filling the screen. My face appeared alive, calm and devastatingly certain, my eyes steady as they stared out, meeting each gaze in the room. To my siblings, you always envied me. I leave you $1. May it remind you of the value of jealousy. To my father and stepmother, I leave you $500, just enough to buy a conscience. To my mother, your love has never died. I will take care of you, now and always. To Ethan, the man who loved me quietly, faithfully, though he thought himself unworthy, you now have my heart and my fortune. I loved you too, but never found the courage to say it until now. The camera panned closer to my face on the screen, capturing the resolve in my features, the slight tremor in my hands folded in my lap. My voice hardened, gaining an edge like sharpened steel. As for Derek and Chloe, you get nothing. Not a cent, not a memory, not a legacy, because you tried to kill me for it all. Gasps tore through the room, sharp intakes of breath mingling with choked sobs. My siblings clutched at each other, faces ashen, hands trembling. My father hung his head in shame, shoulders bowed under the weight of revelation, his eyes fixed on the floor. Derek slammed his fists against the coffin, the wood vibrating under the impact, shaking with rage that contorted his features into something unrecognizable. Then, just as the video faded to black, the screen dimming slowly, my pre-recorded self delivered one last line, my voice lingering in the air. And if you're watching this, I might already be standing behind you. The audience whipped around in shock, heads turning in unison, eyes wide with disbelief, just as the back doors creaked open with a slow, deliberate groan. And there I was, stepping into the light. Alive. Pale from the doctor's injection, my skin ghostly under the chandelier's glow, but radiant with fury and truth that burned in my eyes. My veil trailed like a ghost behind me, whispering against the floor, my eyes locked on Derek and Chloe with unblinking intensity. Chloe shrieked, a piercing sound that shattered the tension, stumbling back into a chair with limbs flailing. No! This isn't possible. She's dead. She's dead. Her voice rose to a hysterical pitch, tears streaming down her face. Derek's face drained of blood, turning ashen as he backed toward the exit, his steps faltering, hands raised in futile defense. But before he could escape, Ethan, my Ethan, stepped forward from the shadows. Strong and steady, with tears glistening in his eyes like unshed diamonds, his jaw set in determination. He positioned himself protectively in front of me, his frame a solid barrier. "Not this time, Derek," Ethan growled, his voice low and thunderous, fists clenched at his sides. The lawyer raised a phone, his fingers steady as he pressed the screen. "The police are on their way." I walked forward slowly, each step echoing in the stunned silence, the hem of my gown brushing the floor like a whisper of judgment. My eyes never left Derek's, holding him captive in my gaze. "You wanted me gone," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me, each word measured and cutting. "But here I stand." "And you? You've already lost everything." The room erupted, gasps swelling into murmurs, cries breaking from throats. whispers spreading like wildfire. Chloe fainted onto a chair, her body slumping limp. My siblings hid their faces behind hands, shoulders hunched in defeat. My mother wept with relief, her hands pressed to her mouth, eyes shining through the tears. But I kept walking past the coffin that had been my cage, past the lawyer standing resolute, until I stood in front of Ethan, and for the first time in my life, I let my heart lead, unburdened by fear or facade. I reached for his hand, my fingers intertwining with his, warm and real, my voice breaking but sure amid the chaos. "Take me home." He pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was the only treasure in the world, his embrace firm and enveloping, his heartbeat steady against mine. Behind us, sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, a promise of justice approaching. Derek and Chloe's laughter was over, silenced forever. Their love was over, exposed as hollow greed. Their freedom was over, chains awaiting in the form of handcuffs. And me? I had been reborn, stepping from the ashes of betrayal into a light I had earned, stronger and unbound. Would you like to hear more emotional and suspenseful stories like this? Don't forget to like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more.